So we're going to start with Super Sprite. So I've kind of started in the middle of the unit. There are some other elements that students will have already covered previous to this lesson, but this is where they really begin to start their programming for this project. So Super Sprites is all about creating their characters. So superheroes are thinking about their own superhero idea, and they have to design their own superhero. You can see my amazing design here. This is Fire Girl. I did name her myself as well. You'll see one of my other heroes appears earlier on in this unit. Her name is Whirl Girl, so you'll look out for her, I'm sure. And they begin to make their own sprites within Scratch. So I'm going to show you Scratch as well. So this is Scratch. This is also created by MIT. Free. Something else I was going to tell you, I forgot to say, is that all the software that we use, with the exception of Tinkercad, which I will talk about when I get to it, all of that software, again, I did say as earlier, is all free. And they're also available as a download so that you can run it without need of using any internet as well. So that's Scratch Junior, which I've shown you previously, Scratch, which we're using now. I'm using the online version, but there is a digital download version that you can run. It looks exactly the same. It just means that you don't need to use the internet to run it at all. So I thought if you want to, you could have a little go at actually drawing something in Scratch if you're feeling brave and you want to follow along with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new sprite. So to do that, I'm going to go down to the Choose a Sprite icon and I'm going to click on Paint. And Shanila and I were discussing this earlier because I decided I couldn't draw one of my proper little superhero sprites. I didn't think I'd really have time. So I decided that I would draw, in the UK, we had a cartoon series called Super Ted. And he was a super teddy, a bear. So that is what I'm going to attempt to draw. So if you're following along with me, have a go at drawing a superhero. We haven't got very long, so it's going to be a very quick attempt at drawing a superhero. In my case, as I said, it's going to be a super bear. And I was quite pleased with the one I drew earlier, so I'm hoping that this
I know,
one will
I'm
come out.
watching eagerly, Estelle, to see if this one's going to be as cute and adorable as the first one.
I'm hoping so. There we go. I mean, obviously needs a cape because all superheroes wear capes, at least in my mind, they do anyway. And I'm going to colour him in using the paint bucket tool. All of the instructions for creating all of the resources, for creating all of the projects, there are detailed step-by-step instructions included in the DRs for the unit. So don't worry if you're looking at me doing this and thinking, oh my goodness, that is really complicated. I don't know how I'd even start with that. The step-by-step instructions have little speech bubbles pointing everything out. There's really detailed instructions telling you how to do everything. Okay, so there is my bear. So I'm going to call him Starting because I'm going to use these costumes in just a minute. So that's what my bear looks like to start with. I'm going to duplicate that costume. So I'm going to do a right click on it and duplicate. And normally what I would do is I'd make this one look a little bit different because what we're going to do is we're going to show what our superhero can do, so what their superpower is. So in this case, Super Ted can't really do very much, to be honest. He can fly though, so that's what superpower I'm going to go for. So I'm going to just put him on his side because in my head that shows that he's flying. So he goes from like down there, up there. Okay, so that's Super Ted flying. And I'm going to add a little bit of code. So I'm going to go into the code section. And this is where our students start with their coding for this unit for superheroes. I'm just swapping back to start with the starting costume. I should name this something different as well. I'm going to name this Flying. There we go. So I'm going to the code section and I'm going to use, in the look section, there's a block that says next costume. So I'm just going to drag in. And if I click on it, you'll see that every time I click, it's swapping between the two costumes. The idea being that we're showing that our superhero has some superpowers. When I click next costume, there he is flying. We can also add an event to the top of that block, and we're going to use the when space key pressed. And that just means when I press the space key on my keyboard now, it swaps between my Super Ted normally, Super Ted flying. Okay, so that is just the beginning section of what the students do for superheroes. So they create their own superhero sprite, and then they add some costumes to show the different types of superpowers their superhero has. And then they use very simple programming to program the change from the different costumes to show their superhero normally and their superhero showing off their superpower. So that's what they begin to work on in that particular unit.